Are you ready for a master class in Instagram? That's exactly what we're bringing you in today's episode. I'm sitting down with a guest who is not only an Instagram influencer with close to 300,000 followers on her account, but she teaches social media best practices out there on the world stages, on top of being a salon owner, behind the chair ambassador. I want you to sit back and listen to her story as she shares with us some of the key tips and tricks that she teaches to industry professionals all over about growing their Instagram account. And her and I together talk about best practices. This is a power-packed episode. I want you to sit back, relax, and take notes. Welcome to the Salon Scoop, a podcast by Salon S.O.S. I'm your host, Scott Moon, the founder of Salon S.O.S, and I'm obsessed with helping salon professionals live their best life. In this show, we shop talk all things salon to bring you real-life stories, debates, entertainment, and inspiration to help you find happiness and success in this beautiful industry. If you work in the salon industry in any capacity, this podcast is open to you. So set down your scissors or rinse out that toner and let's get into it. Get ready for a master class on Instagram best practices. We have with us today the one and only Farhana Premji, who is absolutely an Instagram influencer. And if you have checked out our recent blog articles, we featured her as a top 10 Instagram educator account to follow in 2024. We're super honored to have her with us today. Not only is she an incredible stylist, a salon owner, she's also a Redken brand ambassador, a behind the chair team influencer, a behind the chair university educator, a global educator, and a content creator, obviously, on top of many, many other accolades. Farhana, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today and to share your insights, your journey with our listeners.
Thank you for having me.
This is going to be an exciting episode. But before we delve into anything, Farhana, we always start off our guests with a SOS signature question. You've probably had the opportunity to do many celebrity styles during your day, but we would love to know if there was one celebrity that you could do the hair of that you have not already done, who would that be and why?
Ooh. Um, okay, in terms of hair, if I could do any hair, I would say a Victoria's Secret model, just because I love the glam, soft, beautiful. That vibe is for sure my favorite. But if I had to pick one person, and I'm pairing this person because of also the conversation I get to have, is Kate Middleton. I'm just a suck for the royals, and I think a conversation with her, because we never get to hear from her, would be really fascinating.
Nice, nice.
And
I
she
like
has,
that.
and she has great hair, so that'd be fun.
That's a good combination. But I like that. We always get different answers from people who are sometimes more focused on the hair, but I like this one where you're focused on, hey, it's the opportunity to kind of be with somebody that I kind of admire, would love to get more insights with, and would take that opportunity. So hope that you have the opportunity to do that someday.
Thanks.
All right. I also want to find out a little bit more. I mentioned off the top all the various, sort of titles and accolades that you have. Who do you define yourself as? If I said it, who is Farhana um, to you? How would you describe yourself to somebody?
Um, I'm just a girl who loves beauty things and girly things and sharing that and finding community in that. I love taking pride in the things that I do. I believe that how you do like small things is how you do everything. So I think, attention to detail is really important to me. I sometimes have a little bit of perfectionist syndrome, which probably comes from my immigrant parents for being like, we brought you here, you have to do well. So there's always this like self-inflicted pressure that's always, I feel like, is always on me. But at the end of the day, I love things that make me happy, things that bring me joy. And yeah, I'd say there's multifacets to my business and to who I am. And um, finding a balance in between all of those things that kind of like meld into the person that I am is, something that's taken years and still always figuring out. But I guess that's a little bit about who I am in a nutshell.
Nice. How did you get into the industry in the first place? I always like to hear people's sort of like origin stories. What was the trigger for you? Where were you? And yeah, what was that inspiration to actually go down this path in the first place?
It's a long story. I'll make it really quick, but I was in high school, super academic. I was in like a French IB program. My sister was finishing school and was going to become a doctor. And I think again, like I said, immigrant parents, they want you to like become a doctor, lawyer, or an accountant, or marry a doctor, lawyer, and accountant. And I did neither. Uh, I decided when I was in high school that I wanted to kind of go into like the beauty realm. So I started that, worked in a salon spa, and actually ended up having a bit of a medical thing that took me off from doing physical work. And so the manager at that salon spa put me on the front desk for about 6 weeks. And I absolutely loved working the front desk at this hair salon spa, which was really interesting. I was only 17 at the time. From there, I ended up moving into oil and gas somehow. Someone kind of approached me and said, "Hey, you've got these skills, you love admin, like, why don't you move into oil and gas?" So I did that for 3 years, went to university for HR. And at that point, I was in my mid-20s, and all I could think about was the salon and spa. So I ended up going back to school, this time for hair. I was one of the older girls in my class, but I knew that like I really wanted it at this point. I think my parents were tired of me switching careers, and I was like, no, no, I promise I'm going to stick with this one. And I went into hair school. I graduated early with honors. I kind of realized in that time that when I love something, I really love something, and I put my all into it. It was the first time that I felt never this dread to go to school. I actually really enjoyed hair school. I worked at a mall salon for the first little bit. I got hired on as an assistant, and I loved every part of the journey. Like there was only a few years in this whole time of growing my clientele that I was like, what am I doing? But other than that, I loved it. And I knew that this was kind of my calling, which I know a lot of hairdressers are driven by passion. I think the ones that truly are will figure out a way to kind of make it work and to get through like some of those hard times. So it's kind of how I got into it.
Love that. And how long in your journey, from just sort of being a stylist in a salon, was it before you opened your own salon?
8 years. I was a stylist. I was an assistant for a very short period. Um, and then I became a stylist and grew very, very rapidly. And 8 years after that, I opened my salon, and I've now had my salon for almost 8 years. So yeah, 7.5 years.
Nice. And what would you say was sort of one of the big triggers? You just mentioned you grew your clientele very, very rapidly. What were some of the keys to your success? Because a lot of people struggle with that, when they're first starting, and they can't kind of get off. What do you think was some of the keys for you to be able to grow so quickly?
I have to hand it to the salon that I worked at. I worked at a commission-based salon, which, 15 years ago, that was kind of just where stylists end up. Big salons, lots and lots of structure. It was a summit salon. And I followed the rule book. I followed the recipe book into how to become a six-figure stylist, referrals, pre-books, chemicals, cuts. Like I thought that was like gospel. Like this is how you're going to grow your clientele. I didn't know anything else. Social media wasn't a thing at the time, so there was really not a lot of autonomy in kind of growing a personal brand. So I followed what they told me to do, and I did it, and it worked. Unfortunately, the industry really changed, and uh, you, you know, the salons I feel like took a long time to kind of catch up with that at that point. But a lot of that came from the structure of the salon that I worked at. I had a ton of patience with myself. I wasn't putting on a ton of pressure to hit certain numbers until later in my career. I don't know when that really changed, where all of a sudden I was very number driven. But for the first bit, I think it was, yeah, the structure of the salon, finding a good commission salon to grow your clientele, to learn how to be to be efficient with your time, how to handle all sorts of clients. Like these are all things that kind of you don't realize it, but you're growing a clientele and you're growing a business behind your little chair that you don't realize until one day you're like, oh my gosh, look what I've created.
And when did you realize, I guess, the power of social media, and when did you start utilizing that to help accelerate your growth in the industry?
I love that question. I actually did a full talk on this exact, the power of social media. And I can easily say, so I had started growing my social media at the salon I worked at. And I noticed very quickly within 6 months of me posting intentionally for hair, my clientele was starting to shift. About a year and a half or 2 years after that, I actually ended up getting fired from that salon. My personal brand was just a little bit outgrowing. I had too many ideas. The things that I wanted to do couldn't be implemented into a big salon, and so we parted ways. That night that I got fired, I was lost. I had been at that salon for 8 years, had no idea what to do. I went and bought myself a domain, XO Farhana, which was my MSN name when I was 16, and now it's like I'm incorporated as XO Farhana Enterprises, which is crazy. But I went and bought myself a domain, and I figured out how to get like a sign up newsletter on this website. And I made a post on my Instagram, and I said, new beginnings. Didn't really give much input into what was going on at the salon. I just said, I'm on to some new things. Here's the link. You can sign up to my newsletter and I will keep you posted. I had no idea what that really even meant. I didn't know that when I said that means I actually have to keep people updated on what I was doing. And I really didn't know. Within 24 hours, I had over 700 people subscribe to this newsletter that I didn't even know what I was doing. And I think it was in that moment that I knew the power of social media just from that one post. And I didn't realize how big of a clientele or how big of a reach that I had from just a single post. So everything kind of really started shifting around that time.
Wow. What were you, I mean, you obviously had to have had a pretty big following at that point already. What were some of the keys for you back then to actually grow your following? And were you intentional about, I want to, build the biggest following that I can, and therefore this is what I'm going to do?
I think that at that time, which was about a decade ago, I didn't know the importance of attention and engagement. Now that attention is currency in the social media landscape. How many eyeballs are on you. I didn't realize what I was really kind of doing. In my mind, I was just trying to grow a solid clientele of being booked every day for 3 months at a time and charging really good money and taking home a good paycheck. Like that was really all that was the focus of my world at that point, was just focusing on my clients. Through that, my education platform started taking off. Brands started reaching out to me, and I didn't realize the importance of having that attention on what the work that I was doing. There was no boosted posts at the time. There was no ads. There was no affiliate marketing really. All of this was just like new to us when this kind of all started, and I was kind of just at the forefront of it, just timing wise of how everything kind of played out. So I kind of grew with social media. It almost felt like hair and like the word balayage and Instagram kind of like happened at the same time. It just felt like overnight this was a thing. And I was lucky enough that I was able to be a part of that. And so, yeah, it wasn't intentional. I think uh, looking back, I now know there were some pivotal things that I did that I was like, oh, that really helped. Getting featured in different magazines and publications was really huge. At the time I was just like, oh, this is cool. Like, you know, send the link to my parents and be like, cool, I was featured. And now looking back, I'm like, wow, there's just so many opportunities for exposure, which now everyone's kind of fighting for.
Yeah, and a lot of people are probably listening to this saying, "Great, like 10 years ago it was so much easier, to kind of grow a following on Instagram, and there were less users, so therefore your content, got more visibility more quickly. But now the landscape has changed, and it's so difficult." And how would you sort of suggest to somebody in today's world with your knowledge, your experience, who, if I'm a salon professional and I want to have a bigger presence on social media, maybe I want to become an influencer myself, or at the very least, I want to have more influence with my content, right? To be growing my business, growing my clientele. What would your recommendations be today to salon professionals in terms of how they can be growing on Instagram? What should they be doing?
I think the first and foremost thing that sometimes we get lost in is trying to grow this platform or become an influencer without really having a solid clientele. I think at the forefront of what we do, doing amazing hair, providing a great service sometimes gets lost in all of this. And I think when stylists focus on doing incredible work that stands out from other work that's recognizable, that's replicable so that they can do this again and again on clients, because once you start posting that work on your feed, people come in looking for that work. And if it was a one hit wonder and you're like, that was just a one time, I just had really great hair with really great lighting, and you can't ever really replicate that again, it's really hard for Instagram and reality to kind of like find its match. I think that's a really important thing that shouldn't get lost. In terms of becoming an influencer, again, engagement is what brands are looking for. If you want brands to be sending you PR and to be sent, working and doing contracts with you, they want to see that you have the ability to sell their product. So if that means engagement in terms of really beautiful work, really beautiful content, really great editing, really great lighting, consistent posting, that's a lot of what brands are looking for. But just as you said, there's just so many more stylists and people on Instagram. There's just as many more brands that are looking for people to promote their businesses and to work with them. I think it's really important that if I've been a Redken brand ambassador now for multiple years, but I've been working with the actual brand, since I came out of hair school. I started Shades EQ was like my first day as a stylist. I was already starting to use Shades EQ, and it's all I really knew. So I was posting about Redken before I ever got a paycheck from Redken, before I ever got a PR box from Redken. I truly loved Redken for what it was. No matter how many brands were coming my way and saying, hey, try our product. Hey, we're going to take you on tour. I was just so focused on that particular brand. I had approached them saying, hey, any sort of brand ambassador opportunities in Canada? No, there was nothing. And I just continued to say, well, that's okay. I'm going to continue using the product because I love it. And then years later, it presented itself. So, have this incredible opportunity now to use my platform to share my love for a certain brand. So I think for people who want to become influencers is to really understand what brands are looking for. If they have a new product launch, to be in front of that product launch so that you can be posting about it, so that the next time they do a product launch, you might be on their PR list. Like there's so many opportunities, but the important one is engagement, because that attention is the currency right now.
So let's sort of break this up into two parts for now, because there's the stylist who is just looking to grow their clientele, grow their business, and their focus is potential consumers, right? Potential clients coming to them. And you mentioned the importance of creating high quality work that is replicable, right? That you can do over and over again, because if you start posting that, people are going to see that on your social media feeds and they're going to come and say, hey, I want that for me. So if we're just in that mindset of that particular stylist, what are some tips that you have for them in terms of what they should be posting about, how they should be posting, how frequently they should be posting, to sort of build up that following, build up that engagement that's going to help them grow their book?
Before and afters, I think, are the number one way to tell a story to a client. A client who doesn't understand technique, who doesn't understand product, who doesn't understand all of the stylist jargon that we use, before and afters tell a story. That is really where a client will look at someone's page and say, hey, I see myself in that before, and that's what that stylist can do to get me to the after. I want to book with that person. So I think that sometimes we don't post a ton of before and afters just because they can look a little messy on our page, or we save them for reels. But just even static posts of before and afters is a very quick way of a client being able to see what you're able to do and what you're capable of doing. Also, the kind of work that you love doing. That's important too, is that we're posting the work that we love doing. I remember long time ago when I was working at the salon, I did blue and purple and green mermaid color balayage. And the placement of the color I loved. The color, it was a struggle for me. And it turned out great. And she said, oh, don't you want to take a picture and post it? And I said, well, no, because I don't want more of these. Like, your hair looks amazing, but if I post this, then someone else is going to ask for this, and I don't want to do this ever again. So I think also being really intentional with what you're posting. I still do men's hair. I never post it. No one ever really knows that I still do men's hair. I only have a couple guy clients now, but I will never post it because I don't want more of them. I'm happy with, where that is. I only post the type of work that I want coming back in my chair. So I think that's really important for a stylist who's trying to grow a clientele or trying to become a little bit more specialized in the work that they're doing, is that they're posting specifically for that to catch those eyeballs.
How do you have the right conversations with your clients around that? Because some of them you are, capturing, pictures for content. Others, like you just explained, you're saying, actually, no, I'm not going to take a picture of you. And that maybe could hurt the feelings of the client. Says, oh, I see you posting pictures of other people all the time, like how come you don't want to take a picture of me? And maybe someone else is less interested in having the picture taken, but you really love the work that you did and you want to feature it. How do you have those conversations?
I keep it really gentle and light. I think I know which clients now are, you'll see some clients that they're done their hair and they're like looking in the mirror, touching their makeup up. They're ready for their video. They're ready for their picture. So I will always double down on those clients because I know I'm going to get some content out of them. I'll spend a little bit extra time. I might be able to repurpose different, take different angles, different lighting, being able to take one client and have maybe 5 pictures to post out of that one client. The clients that I don't, sometimes it's a lighting thing. Sometimes it's a timing thing. I don't really have the time in the salon to do a whole photo shoot for that client. I've never really had anyone say to me, why don't you post my photos? I take a lot of photos and I often, especially in the beginning stages of my career, I would send them their photos so that they could see what we did on their hair, their investment that they put in, so that they can see their own before and after and be excited about that. So sometimes I would take the photo not to post it. Sometimes I take the photo and just post it on the story so that it's just up there. It's gone in 24 hours. I don't really want it on my feed, but at least I posted that. So yeah, it's never really been an awkward conversation. If I know I want to take content, I'll usually ask a client, can I book you in a morning appointment so I get really good lighting so that I can take some content of your hair? So that way they almost know for next time, oh, she's going to be taking content.
Nice. Okay, I'm a stylist, but I'm find myself always, running behind schedule, and I never have, time during the day. I know that I'm supposed to be taking pictures and, posting it, but I just find that I don't have time to get it done. What are your like hot tips for me to be able to kind of do this photo shoot and get the content that is going to be valuable in the most efficient way possible, and having it be good quality, obviously.
Right. Having a content phone is really like, it's an investment, but it's almost like take one of your old phones, use that as your current phone, and use your good phone as your content phone. Just have it always set up on a tripod, ready to go. Don't make it a big deal in front of the client. Just keep working, move the tripod around. If you get some clips that you can use, great. If you don't, that's okay. Try again on the next one. The more you do it, the more comfortable you get with it, the more comfortable your clients get with it. And you can always repurpose that content. In terms of the photos at the end, yeah, you definitely need a good 10 to 15 minutes sometimes to style the client, to get them comfortable, to try different lightings. That's something that you should be booking into that time, or just making sure that you know to finish 15 minutes before the end of your appointment time. And it's just, once you become intentional with it and you kind of start treating everything like content, it starts becoming a lot more easy and comfortable for you to do that. But it is important to do that, because there's definitely times where I finish a client and we didn't have time to take content. And I've tried the whole, can you come back tomorrow and I'll take photos? It's never the same. The vibes are gone. The hair has been, it's never really the same. So unless you're going to have designated content days, um, taking that extra 15 minutes, with the clients that that you want to be taking content on, makes a huge difference.
When you're teaching, classes, what do you recommend from a amount of time that somebody should be thinking about spending on their social media in a given week to actually, create the content, like taking the pictures, but then actually like putting it together, whether you're creating reels, carousels, putting the captions together, scheduling, like how much time are we looking at realistically?
Honestly, I feel like in the salon, if you just kind of always have you kind of always have your content mind on. Like I know on Fridays and Saturdays are the days that I start early. So I those are my content days. My evening days, I don't take as much content. So I kind of know that I'm going to be taking more content. Taking content in the salon doesn't take me a lot of time. It's the editing. So some weeks it's, a slower week or a weekend that I don't have a ton going on socially. It's Netflix on in the background. It's a lot of editing. It's a lot of, um, figuring out how you want to lay out your feed. I will be honest though, my most viral post that has over 7 million real views took me no time to edit. It was a 10-second video of me cutting someone's hair. I didn't even show a before and an after. I literally just was cutting some ends and it had 7 million views and there was no editing process in that. So sometimes it's the ones that we try so hard on that we're trying to really make it look good don't do very well. And then the ones that we just kind of toss up there just to get it off our phone perform really well. So just post the content. That's advice that I give to myself all the time is don't sit on the content because when I go back to it a month later or a couple weeks later, I kind of forgot what I was doing and then I get lost in the hair again. And yeah, so if you can figure out a way to build that into your schedule, and I know it's outside of our hair time, so it's personal time that is using to build our businesses.
Yeah, I love that because too often we are stuck in that sort of perfectionist mindset and we don't want to post something until we think it's totally perfect and we just the analysis paralysis makes us not post it. And at the end of the day, you never really know what's going to be successful and what's not. And if you don't post it, then it has zero chance of being successful. So you're better off to to put something out there and keep learning based on the feedback and engagement that you get from that. What would you suggest if we're looking at reels versus carousels versus stories? Again, for the stylist out there that's looking to build their business, build their book, what are your sort of recommendations around each of those different types of content?
I think if you're a stylist that really loves the aesthetic, like you love to have like a visual brand, you want everything looking a certain way, carousels do really, really well for that because you can do like a dump of 20 photos. I mean, 20 is a lot, but you can do a dump of photos of, even one person's hair, their before. The next slide, the next carousel post is maybe you mixing. They're just still static shots that kind of tell a story, and you can be very aesthetic with that. Reels are really good for like quick behind the scenes snippets or applications. They're really great for tutorials. They're really great for before and afters. Like reels do well on all fronts to kind of pull a client in and but also pull a salon professional in if you want to be kind of go into that education space and you want, to be known as somebody that like teaches techniques and shares formulas online. Reels are incredible for that. I think stories are incredible to kind of share a little bit of your personality. It expires in 24 hours. People sometimes care what hairdressers eat in the back room or what we're doing in between our clients. Like those posts seem to do really well as well. Just little thoughts that you sometimes have that you want to share. Like stories are really great for that. It's all engagement. It's just the more people see your name on their feed, it comes up in their algorithm, the more attention that you have. So and at the end of the day, a static post of just really beautiful hair still always performs well. Those are the posts that when clients come in and they're bringing inspo photos, they're saving static posts. They're not always saving reels. They're not saving screenshots from stories. They're saving static posts that live on hairstylist feeds or influencer feeds where they really like an influencer's hair, saying, I really like this girl's haircut. They're saving those static posts. So those still always perform well. They're very inspiring. They can be educational. So there's a kind of a place for all of it, for sure.
And what about captions? How important is the actual caption itself, and what are some of your, uh, you know, best tips around that?
If I'm posting hair stuff, there's going to be a caption. I'm never just going to say, buttercream blonde. Like there's more to it than that. I want to showcase maybe a little bit, give a story on, the work that I'm doing, or even if it's just a formula that I want to drop in that, but just giving some sort of insight as to what's going on in that photo is really important to me. If it's a personal post and it's just, a recap of the month, it might just be one or two words, but that's really just to break up the feed and to, show people that I have a life outside of doing hair. But yeah, if it's something related to hair, work, salon, all of that, there's going to be more than just a small caption for sure.
Nice. Yeah, I think people sometimes don't put enough attention into the caption. And again, if you're trying to create engagement, people need to kind of connect with you in some way. And that's where you can kind of express your thoughts, express the creativity, the inspiration behind it, give people insights into, your work, and really create a little bit more of an emotional connection with your audience. Let's
I also think that the longer someone stays on your post and they're reading your caption, the algorithm kind of works in your favor. And so you will show up on that person's feed more. So that's really important too, is just to like hook them on, not just from the image or the video that you're posting, but also the words that you're writing attached to that.
Love that. Great advice. Let's switch gear a little bit to the stylist who is looking to be a little bit more of an influencer, and their target market might be other salon professionals a little bit more than it is actual clients. What differences from what we've just been discussing would you suggest in terms of things that they should be focusing on to position themselves a little bit more in that influencer mindset? Like, what's the content and how should that be different?
Educational, knowledge-based, experience-based content that shows behind the scenes of little things like what is your mixing ratio? What kind of foils do you like to use? It's not always like, this is how I paint a section. There's small things, and these are the brushes that I love. Just sharing all of the ins and outs of what you do. You never know who's on the hunt for a new brush, and they're like, well, what does Scott use? I want to see what Scott's using because his balayages turn out amazing. You just never really know. So the more you can share, the more people see you as having credibility and knowledge in a certain area, and you kind of become a resource for them.
Are there any types of content that are more important for that? Like I'm talking again, reels, carousels, versus posts, or would the feedback that we gave for just a stylist building their book be the same in terms of content types?
I think voiceovers and reels, I think those are very engaging for salon professionals because they want to get into the mind of someone that they admire and they want to understand why did they take the approach that they take? Why are they doing certain things? It's always like the why behind it. And sometimes in uh just a really beautiful reel with great music, you don't always get all of that intel into the thought process behind doing something. So I think voiceovers and reels really pulls that in. Um, I would say for sure.
Love that. I'm gonna switch gears here because you used the word why. Let's focus a little bit on you and your content. What's the why, the purpose behind your content that you're putting out there these days?
My why has always been, and it's changed maybe a few times. It always comes back to it. It's just to leave the industry better than I found it. I think so much has changed in the 15 years that I've been doing hair, for better, for worse, or otherwise. Social media has been such a blessing, but also such a curse for so many stylists. It's heartbreaking to see stylists getting burnt out. It's heartbreaking to see clients that are unhappy. Salon owners feeling like they don't want to educate and teach and foster the stylists that they have. Stylists feeling like their salon owners are toxic. Like there's just so much on social media, and if I can I've never really posted satire or controversial things like that have never really been something that I ever post. I do watch it and I find it entertaining, but it will never be me that's posting that. And everything that I post, I just want it to be beautiful hair, inspiring, educational. If that just means I take up a little corner of the internet and it's just pretty hair, then I'm happy with that. If I can educate clients or stylists on how to, build their days better, how to become great earners, how to have conversations with their clients that come from a place of confidence and compassion. Those are really important pillars for me and how I built my business. But I stay away from kind of those controversial posts. And I think, the reason why I don't do that is just because I'm in the middle when I see, toner gate happened on TikTok and Instagram not long ago. All the hairdressers knew about it. There was so much going on. Everyone was weighing in on it. And I saw both sides of it. You are compassionate on the client side, you're compassionate on the hairdresser side. And so I just kind of continue to post pretty hair and the things that make me happy.
Love that message. That's really beautiful. I think it's so important, and I really love the pureness, I guess, behind that. I think it's important that we have people in our industry that, especially who are influencers like yourself, that are using that forum, that platform to deliver positive messages, inspiration to the rest of the industry to pick up from, because as you mentioned, there can be so much toxicity out there, and we need less people contributing towards that and more people contributing towards uplifting our industry. It's challenging enough. Our industry has always been uh, you know let's say not regarded the highest, in career choices, out there compared to other industries. So I think it's really important, and I applaud you and acknowledge you for what you've been doing. And it's certainly one of the reasons why, we chose to clearly, highlight your content and your account as one of the top 10 salon educator Instagram accounts to follow in 2024. It was an absolute no-brainer, and we definitely encourage everybody out there to be following along your content. Can you highlight just quickly, let's make it very clear how people can find you online in terms of your Instagram handle. We'll have everything in the show notes, but and also how they can connect and learn more from you, because you are an educator and you are a coach and trying to deliver messages. What are the various ways that people can get value from you?
So my Instagram is XO Farhana Balayage. I mostly post on there. My TikTok's like kind of like a burner account. I don't really post a ton of stuff on there. I spend a lot of time on it. It's great content. But yeah, so mostly Instagram. In terms of where you can get more of me, I have some more classes coming out this year. I have some digital stuff that's happening. So stay tuned on my Instagram. I'll be posting all of that there. And yeah, you can keep up with that over there.
And if they want to reach out to you, is that the best way, through Instagram?
Yeah,
Um,
Instagram. Also, my email address is linked right on my Instagram. It's just info@exofarhana.com. That's that email comes directly to me. So yeah, anytime you can reach out. And I love connecting with other salon owners and hairdressers and people who are just even interested in getting into the industry. I think it's a very rewarding, great career if you can kind of silence some of that noise that comes along with it.
Well, you've had an amazing career yourself, and you're still young. You're still on the path. What's next for you? You've accomplished, a lot already. What's next in the digital space, or in the salon business space for you?
So, I still do hair and I still love it. If there were two things that I absolutely love everything that I do, it's education and still with my hands and hair. So more of that. I'm digitally and, business wise kind of moving into a little bit of an e-commerce space, which I'll be kind of announcing pretty soon here as well. So that's been a whole new learning curve for me in terms of rather than a service-based business, a little bit more of a e-com, which has been a huge undertaking and a great passion of mine. So I'm really excited to share some of that. But yep, still here, still doing hair, still creating content, and still teaching classes, which I hope never ends.
Amazing. Well, we're here to get the scoop. That's what we do on the Salon Scoop, and really appreciate you spending some time with us today and sharing some of your insights, your experiences, your best practices, your advice, your message towards the industry. Farhana, we're going to finish off our episode with one signature question that we ask all of our guests, and it's not necessarily related to digital. It can be or not, but if you had one piece of advice that you could give to either a new stylist coming in the industry, or someone who's been around for a while in an industry but looking to just kind of like reset or refresh themselves to have the most successful career possible, what advice would that be to that individual?
My gosh, I could write a book. Um, Everything that happens in your chair or in your business is not your fault, but everything that happens in your chair in your business is your responsibility. So just to kind of elaborate a little bit more on that is, as stylists, to take accountability for everything that we're doing. The clients that we have, we can't always control the type of people that we serve, but we can always kind of control the outcome, the behaviors, the reactions that we kind of put into all of that. So I think that's really important. Educating yourself, the more you know, the better you do. And, stay true to yourself. Don't let the industry change you. Don't let it, find the beautiful parts of it, because it is a very rewarding career.
It certainly can be, and you are a testament to that. Thank you so much again, Farhana, for all this wonderful information. Hope everybody enjoyed this master class on Instagram, digital best practices, whether you want to just grow your business, you want to be an influencer. Lots of advice and insights in this episode that hopefully you can take. Encourage you to share this with someone you feel can benefit. And please make sure that you follow Farhana on Instagram. Stay connected with her. She has amazing insights and education to share that can only help you grow in your journey. So thanks again, Farhana.
Thank you so much. This was so fun.
Have a great day, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to the Salon Scoop podcast. This show is produced by Salon S.O.S, a digital marketing agency by industry professionals for industry professionals. If you want simple and affordable solutions for any of your salon marketing needs, such as websites, client loyalty, Google search rankings, social media, or more, come visit us at salonsos.ca or on Instagram at salon.s.o.s. If you want to hear more episodes like this and help us continue to bring the industry great content, it would mean so much to us if you would support us in one of the following ways. Either share this episode with one other industry professional, and rate the show on Spotify, or write us a quick review on Apple Music. We want to hear your feedback. If you have follow-up questions or ideas for future episodes, please reach out. DM us on Instagram at salonis.s.o.s or hit us up on our website again at salonsos.ca. Again, thanks so much for listening. Now go get your hustle on, keep smiling, and we'll catch you on our next episode.